Before moving on to the next section, which will be about shell scripting, I wanted to show you some basic customization options for Vim, which makes file editing a little nicer. Vim is already a very powerful text editor out of the box, but it comes with a lot of good options that are not enabled by default, so you're going to have to turn them on manually. So let's start up Vim by just typing the name Vim. And to set any option, you do it via the command mode with the keyword set, followed by the option that you want to enable. So, for example, I want to enable line numbers. So I'm going to type :set number. And now you can see on the left-hand side that the number 1 appears on the first line. So if I type something here and press enter, you can see that it keeps adding new numbers. However, before I go any further and start adding more options, I want to point out that setting options this way will only set them for your current session, and they will be lost when you exit out of Vim. To set an option permanently, or every time you start up Vim, we're going to have to edit a file called .vimrc. So I'm going to quit out of this file with :q exclamation point. Some Linux distributions come with a default vimrc file in your home directory. I'm just going to type vim.vimrc to open that up and see if there is one already. Well, there isn't. It's completely blank. That's good. If you have an vimrc file already that comes pre-installed, I would suggest that you delete everything and start from scratch. It is generally not a good idea to use a vimrc file created by someone else, as you don't know which options are in there or what they do. I would strongly recommend that you start from scratch and build up your vimrc file from the beginning, and then just add features as you need them. That way you can be sure that you understand what is actually in your Vim configuration and what everything does. So that being said, I'm going to add some basic options that I think will be good for mostly anyone and explain what they do. So to start with, I'm just going to type in the commands that I did to set the options. Set number, like that. So what this does is that when you open up Vim, it reads from the vimrc file in your home directory, so it's very important that you put it there, and then it will run all of the commands that you list here. But you see now that I've saved it and my changes have not taken effect. That's because it runs through all of these commands when Vim starts up. So in order to get this number option now, I either have to restart Vim, or I can source the file via the command line. So I'm going to open up command mode with colon, and then type source, then $myvimrc. $myvimrc is a variable. I'll talk about what those are more in the next video. But for now, if you just press enter, I get an error. That means you can't find it. No problem. If you just type in source, and then type in the little tilde squiggly thing, .vimrc, it should find it right there in your home folder. So let's start typing in some more commands and options that I think might be useful. To start with, I think I want to redefine the behavior of the tab key, because if I press tab now, it inserts a wide tab character. I want it to insert 4 spaces instead. So I'm going to type set expand tab, and then set shift width equals 4, and set tab stop equals 4. Then there are some things I want to do to increase readability of Vim in general. I would like to enable a status line at the bottom of the screen that shows me where I am in the file. So I'm going to type set last status equals 2. And I also want to enable the ruler if it hasn't been enabled already. Set ruler. Which will just show us the line and column that we currently are on. And then if it hasn't been enabled already, I can see that it is, but it's good to include it anyway. I want to type syntax on, which will enable syntax highlighting for any file that has it. I also would like to set another color scheme. Vim comes pre-installed with some color schemes, and I'm not really a huge fan of any of them, but I find that just setting color scheme to default works well enough. Another thing I would like to do is enabling the wild menu. The wild menu is essentially a functionality that when you are typing in a command or want to open up a file, for example, you can press tab to cycle through them, which I find is quite handy. So set wild menu. And then there is one last thing I would like to do. I think it's a bit cumbersome to press escape every time I want to leave insert mode because you do it a lot. So I would like to set some combination of keys in insert mode that allows me to leave it quicker. I find that JJ is a pretty nice combination. So I'm going to type I know remap, which means you remap the keys JJ to the key escape, like that. So now the next time I load Vim, I should be able to type JJ to just exit insert mode. And another thing I want to do to just make that a little smoother is to set the timeout length for how long I should check for the second press of the key J after I press it the first time. So set timeout len, like that, and I'll set it to about 600. There we go. You see it changed the color scheme to default. It enabled the ruler and the status line. And if I were to type E and then want to edit some files, you can see the wild menu here allows me to tab through some things. I think that should be a pretty good basic setup for Vim. There are many more options that you can enable, but I want to stress this. Do not put options into your vimrc that you don't know what they do. If you're unsure about something, you can just type H and then go to get into the help menu for something. And for example, H wild menu. This will show you a help page for the command or option that you typed in. Another last tweak I want to add is to set hidden. This will enable us to work on several different files without having to save them and be prompted for it. So now you will only be prompted to save a file if you are about to exit and you have unsaved changes. I think that should be pretty good. That's a good basic vimrc setup. Now with all those options set, I think we are ready to go ahead and go to the next section and talk about shell scripting.